Hello! I know I didn't upload a video yesterday, but I was actually hard at work majority of the day producing what you see in front of you. So part of the redesign was actually going through and doing the grunt work of redesigning everything. And I showed some of this to some of my friends last night, other people that have play tested the game with me, and some others. I got some feedback. And I'm going to proceed today on stream with some more changes that are coming in the near future for the cards. Big thing that's going to potentially be addressed is something that's a little long overdue. So I'll be addressing that on stream today. Might highlight a video with it tomorrow if I manage to get the work done. But hi, this is Paul from Wheel of Games. I am here with the update. So on the left hand side here is what the cards originally looked like. So for right now we're going to kind of put them over that. And this is Rand. So this is Rand from Dragon Reborn. Spoilers for anybody that has not read through book 3. I apologize, all my videos have been branded with their spoilers, but Rand. So originally this was how the makeup of the cards looked. You had a very embellished border, which was incredibly cool looking, but also made parts like this difficult to read down here. On top of that, you also had this waving banner and the black with the what's called primitive font to make the 5 look very stylized. You also had the name here, the subtext or subtyping here, so essentially like the category of Rand that you're dealing with. And then you had this type bar. So the type bar in the original version would list everything that I could possibly imagine to label the character as. So in this case, he's Channeler, he's saidin, he's Two Rivers, he's a Blade Master, and he's ta'veren. That's a bunch. And then underneath that, you would have the effect text, and then in italics, you would have the quote. So every single character had a quote listed on it, and then past that you had the name of the set, the card number of the set, and then the artist and the credit, basically saying like, hey, this was made in 2019. So what have I done to change this? Primarily, I went with less is more. So a big point that one of my friends brought up was that if you don't read the books and you just want to play a good game, sometimes it's better to just have symbology that can be explained. A lot of games actually do this, and he was right. I typically don't admit that this person is right, but he was right in this sense. So congrats, you win on that front. So what did I do? Well, the first thing that I did was I wanted to and he's actually in chat right here. That's that's my buddy here talking. I'm recording right now, bud, so your quote will be here, but yes. So anyway, so what does this do? So what have I done? First thing I've done is I've adapted where the banner's not waving, and I've also adapted it to be a hanging banner on a pole as opposed to just kind of sticking off the thing. I also moved this up to the top left corner, which allows for more space for the art to breathe, and it also enables me to move the name bar up, and among like other things, it just adds more space to the actual card. Next thing I did was I added another set of hanging banners to represent the name, as opposed to this kind of offshoot metallic looking nameplate that was cool before, but now we have hanging banners that match the flow, and these banners will change with the color of the banner hanging here. And then I also have added in a flag to represent the nation of the character, as well as a name for the character's nation right there. So a lot of this was removing information from the type bar. As you can see, Channeler, saidin, Two Rivers, Blade Master, ta'veren. This has been shrunk to Blade Master and ta'veren. That is all that he's registered as. The reason why is because Channeler saidin is registered with this black symbol here. And then past that, it also means that the nation, which Two Rivers is a part of Andor, is listed clearly up here. This allows for people to be able to see if there's certain archetypes between nations. It also means that I can change some of the text to, instead of saying, you know, a Andor unit, I can have it say a unit of this unit's nation, and or something like that. I haven't gotten to that point in the game yet, so that's the spreadsheeting phase, and I'm scared to get back to that, but we'll get to it eventually. The next thing that I did is this here again, this channeler Saidin. So what does this mean? It means that this unit is a channeler. He is Saidin, which is the black symbol, and it also he has 4 value in terms of channeling potential. So if there are cards that directly call for him to channel, you would subtract from this as opposed from this. This opens up some level of gameplay dynamics that have not existed before, and while these cards will exist prior to potentially weaves existing, I might slow burn some of the weaves into the earlier sets to kind of make up for some of the loss that's going on, because personally I like how the sets are laid out, but there aren't weaves until set 3. So because of that, there's actually not really weaves until set 4, but there's not weaves until set 3. So to make up for that, some of the cards in the past will have this symbology on them, but it's for future integration later on in the story. I hate doing it, but I'm at the point now where I'm 5 sets in, so we're going to have some stuff that doesn't exactly make sense, but it's better for the future. So then next thing, the other big change, so there's 2 more. The first one is that we have the bar here. So there's a line, very clear and distinct, separating the effect text from the flavor text. This is a personal choice for me. I want there to be a clear break, short of like changing the font entirely. People were getting way too much text on one card and not really processing which one's an effect and which one's just words. So what did I do? I put a nice clean line. This will change based on the tier of the card to indicate the difference and separation between a quote from the books and the character's effect itself. And then finally, there is something kind of distinct now. One, the lattice work at the bottom of the older design is now gone, but past that point, there is a very distinct black section here. This will be universal across every single type of card. What does this black section do? It allows for clarity where the name of the set is, it allows for clarity where the number of the card is, and it allows for clarity for the artist of the card as well as the year that the card was produced. This way, you don't run into issues where you can't really read. So the entire point of what I've been doing is to not only enhance the gameplay by making a new mechanic that makes it better, but also adding to the mix where there is just visual clarity across the board. The only other thing that I have done, this is again an example, it is not what the card does for the original or what will be on the card, is you'll see this number here. Well, that's actually for another resource, which is armor. So armor is probably going to be a more fundamental mechanic in the newer iteration of the game, meaning that you might have base armor values on certain combat units. This is just something that is probably going to be across the board. And the thing is that the armor that you're referencing is usually the character's armor in reference to their current status. So while armor makes sense to be a shield is just going to be the universal symbol, but say you have a fairly dastardly politician like a king or a queen, they may have armor just built into them for politics, meaning like they'll have a political value for existing, but then they will have an armor value because you can't really crack their political hold because they are a king or queen. So that might be how I represent it. I'm not exactly sure, but this symbol up here is going to reference if a character has armor. And so if a character has armor, you will deduce this prior to reducing this whenever they would take damage by an effect or something. Again, there's a lot to unpack with that, and it also is more symbology on the card as opposed to, you know, just having having the symbol there and expecting people to understand it. And so I'm going to briefly go into what some of the expectations are for the remainder of the design. So the next step that I'm actually working towards is translating something into symbology. I'm not the largest proponent of it, but it does add a bit of depth. So the first bit is that the biggest thing that got under my skin was the weave cards. I will show you one as an example, just to kind of give you an idea of where the issue came from. So this is Ball of Fire. So Ball of Fire was, so weaves will still have this rainbow effect on them, but Ball of Fire was the first ever conceptualized weave card that I did that was not Balefire. It was the first time that I wanted to make a weapon style weave, and I thought I did a good job with it. But here's where the problem came in. The problem came in that Ball of Fire at its core is supposed to just deal 5 damage to something, but it had a condition behind the 5 damage. And the condition was that you could only play if you had a channeler, and you lowered the power of the channeler by 1. The intention of Ball of Fire's new effect text is to show the 2 symbols, either the Saidin or Saidar symbol, and it says -1, like on top of the symbols. And it says deal 5 to an enemy on the same row. So you condense 3 lines of text to 1 with a simple symbol. And that's the plan, at least at its core right now. So I'm getting to the point of integrating symbology into the actual cards. And that way it streamlines the process for people to follow. You already have these big visual indicators that the card is not necessarily a regular type of card. It doesn't have a banner. It's not necessarily an item because it's not turquoise, and it has all this conditional text down here. So it's got to be something special, and that's what I'm doing with the weaves. So while the weaves are a bit of a tedious thing, the biggest issue that I saw with them was you were having a conditional clause in addition to a negative, and then you received a overall above average positive, which does not really justify people playing it unless they're playing a full deck around it. So that is the long and short version of what the plan is with effect text. There will also be some other changes, and I'll get to those in another video, but I was keeping this one rather short, and thank you guys for at least tuning in. I will be on stream today for a little while, and if anybody would like to follow or join in, then feel free to come on in. I don't even have ads on my Twitch streams, so it's nice and easy for anybody. So thank you for tuning in, and have a good rest of the day.